Today we are cracking our future code, and we dare you to dream. And we dare you to dream big. I'm daring myself to dream big. And I'm promising myself silently and saying every opportunity that comes, I will welcome it with all my attention, with all my love. I must be always conscious of what I think, because what I think, it becomes the results of my life. Let's not underestimate that. We had references today and people's testimonies that it really does happen. Let's take an opportunity. So when you come back next year, this is standard. This is something that we do on a yearly. We really want you to be the guest speakers. You know where to find us. Those are our tweets. I think that's Instagram. Please take pictures, take selfies. They are here. Take pictures, selfies, and let's interact. Let's take this boat to a direction that was never thought of. We are all beautiful stories. Oh, Doc is here. Oh, we are surrounded by doctors. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to be reading his profile. He can't wait, and we also can't wait, Doc, to come and do your presentation. Reading his profile, Dr. Chuma is a Kenyan-born South African entrepreneur with a passion for business leadership, property investment. There's someone who was in the crowd who wants to be a property investor. Pin him down. Pull me up. You know? Property investment and startup ventures. He has a passion for self-development. Anything that goes self, I love it. Because that is you. You've got to love that person. And medical coaching for entrepreneurs and business leaders in what he believes as transformational coaching practices. Dr. Chuma is also an experienced property investor, and he has used his vast understanding and lessons learned from past mistakes to put together this indispensable read. We all need to learn from the past mistakes. We're all normal. We're all human beings. But you got to have that eye that looks backward and said, what have I done as a mistake? And we learn from that. I love reading that. What stands out in his emphasis on building a portfolio that will leave a legacy that outlives the investor. He continuously shows the wisdom of this approach and is very persuasive in his arguments for following this advice. For over 8 years, Dr. Chuma, I love how this thing rhymes, and his team have been offering the tools, tactics, and strategies of building property portfolio. Over the period, they have perfected and will gladly share these secrets with you during this seminar. Let's give him a round of applause. The stage is yours, Doc.
Thanks, Wendy. Can everyone hear me? I think I'm loud enough. I don't need the mic. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Let's stand up. Let's stand up, everyone. Let's not sit down too much. I think after you've had your lunch, you possibly now, this is called the graveyard shift. I want to show you something today which is possibly going to change the way you look at the future. We always think of everything in a similar way. We always have the same mindset in the way we think. I want you to lift up your hand and point to the roof. Oh. Can you point to the roof there? Yes. Clockwise is the way the clock moves. Yes. I want you to move your finger clockwise. You know the way the clock moves? Can you do that? Yes. Just look at the roof and turn it round and round. Okay. Now, as you do that, don't stop. There's someone there who's not moving. Okay. I want you to move it down slowly in the same direction. You're doing it clockwise, yeah? Yes. Keep doing it clockwise, the same direction. And I want you to bring it down to the level of your chest or the level of your tummy. And now I want you to look at it and tell me, what direction is it moving? No. What direction is it moving? Anti-clockwise. What happened? Do you want to do it again? Let's try it again. Point to the finger. I want you to move it clockwise. So let's move it clockwise. up there, or up in the roof. And I want you to bring it down. Don't change. Bring it down slowly as you're thinking. And I want you now to be right at the level of your chest, to the level of your tummy. What direction is that? Anti-clockwise. Can someone please tell me what has happened? Which direction? Yeah. That's one answer. Anyone else? What has happened? Did you know what happened there? It moved from clockwise to anti-clockwise. It's a view, guys. It's a view. You know, just because, and I think he's got the right answer. You're looking at it from up, and here you're looking at it from down. Okay, have a seat. The point I'm trying to raise here is that people look at things differently. And just because you're seeing it in a different way doesn't mean that it's wrong. Just from the perspective of where you're seeing it from. I don't know that you realize that. And that's what happens in life, where someone tells you that this is how things are done. You're like, no, he must be wrong. But what you don't realize is that he's got a different perspective. And today, especially the youngsters, I love talking to the youngsters because I wish I started investing in property at your age. Because you can do it. I was just seated with my friend at the back there, and we were talking about it. What can you do can you start investing at your age? Can you? Anyone here who doesn't have an ID? I think everyone has an ID. If you have an ID, you can start investing in property. Do you know that? You have an ID? Everyone has an ID here. Apart from that boy there who's still drinking water from his bottle. So what I mean by that is, if you start working and thinking about it at this age, by the time you're my age, you see, by the time you're my age, you'll be having a portfolio of 50, 100 units. That's not a bad place to be in. But because when you're young, everyone else is happy, they're doing all these things, you want to follow them. But if you change your mind and decide, okay, you know what if I try it? It doesn't hurt. It's not going to hurt to try something new. What if you start it at this age? By the time you're 30, by the time you're 40, you don't need a job. Who says you need a job when you have 40 or 50 or 100 units? The other day, my mentor called me. He actually wrote me a message and told me, I've just hit my 2,412th property. 2,412 properties. How is that? And most of them are actually in the Kempton Park area. Let's go to my presentation, the back there. But I'll just take you through a way of thinking, a different way of approaching life. And I'll tell you that most of what you learn here, there's a good chance that you might never learn it anywhere else. So, and this is why I'm such a stickler to self-development. A lot of the things that make people successful, you'll never find them anywhere in university or in any college. And it's so interesting because people will always run for that type of education. People will always go for, what is it called, Boston College. They want to go to Wits. I don't have anything against those colleges. You learn a skill. But a lot of these things are taught in these kind of forums. You never come across them anywhere else. So I really applaud you for coming here, taking your time, because this might be the last time you're hearing this. Maybe the first time and maybe the last time. The next thing is go implement it and try and use it in your own life. Okay, good. Let's go to the next slide. I don't want to talk a lot about legacy because I know the theme that we are discussing today is about cracking the future code. Because remember, what you're going to do today in this couple of years that you have is going to be very, very impactful into the future. I don't know if you realize that. And that's why I'm saying I wish I attended a similar seminar when I was your age, because then I could have started much earlier. And I think that's the takeaway message for you guys. If you could start it at this point in time, it's possible. I always say you can start proper investment as long as you've got an ID book. It's that easy. And for those who want more information, maybe we can have a chat before I leave, because I can't be able to go through everything. How can you start when you only have an ID? Okay. But in essence, you can start building a legacy at this point in time. What is a legacy? A legacy is that you leave going into the future. And it's interesting because, just go to the next slide. It's interesting because you realize that legacy is what, when you talk about cracking the future code, most of us want to have success. What is success? What is success? We always define success in monetary terms. Is there another way of defining it? Monetary, financial, physical. I mean, you could have loads of money, but you possibly are in the hospital all the time. Is that success? Because you didn't take care of your body. Spiritually, that's another way of taking care of yourself. You can have spiritual success. But again, I don't want to be very spiritually successful, but I've got nothing in my bank account. I mean, is that success, really? I don't think you can be very successful spiritually, but you've got nothing to even take care of your family. Yeah? Family-wise, socially, So you have to balance yourself. But I always define success as being who you want to be, having as much as you want to have in every area of your life, and doing it with whoever you want to do it with, wherever you want to do it with. Because unfortunately, when you're bound by somebody else, and you can't be able to achieve what you want to achieve, then I wouldn't call that success. Okay, let's move to the next slide. The next slide as well, I think we've covered that. But the point that I want to raise here, and I want you to take very huge cognizance of this, is people think that the government is going to take care of you. This is something that I've really struggled to let people know. Government is not pro-legacy. Government is not going to help you to crack that future code that Billy is talking about. There's no way. In fact, if you think about it, the government, in most cases, is there just to make the environment that we live in conducive. And what do I mean by that? First thing is, I pay my taxes. And I love to pay taxes because that's what keeps the hospitals, keeps our roads, and keeps everything going. But remember, at the end of the day, especially if you've accumulated a good number of properties and investments, there's a good chance that the bigger portion of that will never pass on to your descendants. I don't know that you know that. And I'll bring that into perspective soon. You can spend your whole life building this asset portfolio, buying properties, building businesses, but if you don't structure it right, there's a good chance that none of that is going to pass to your future descendants. You know why? Okay, let's go to the next, just click on the next one. I should have been given one of those things that you click to move it. One of the things that you realize is that if, and we always talk about this when we're having our seminars, and this is more on the seminars. And I don't want to scare you because you're still very young, but I'll tell you this because it happens. It might happen to people who are related to you. It might happen to your close family. You're here, and this is something that you have to think about very carefully because when you start, you don't want to start the wrong way. You're here, and you want to build a portfolio of properties, or you want to build a portfolio of assets to take care of you into the future. What you have to realize is that if anything happens to you, I mean, I've got a family, I've got 3 kids, and maybe I've written in my will that I want my kids to take care of or to inherit my properties. Do you think it happens like that? Have you ever thought, does it happen that way? Sometimes. And most times? Donate it. Okay. But in most cases, we always put the people who are going to inherit our properties there. You know that's how we do it. Eh? But what we don't realize is that if this is a structure you have, and this happens a lot because, I mean, you know how it is. Most of us Africans, we want to have the property under our own name. You want it written there, its own, the title deed is Chomba. The car's registration is mine. Everything needs to be in my own name. And that's what happens. You're aware of this. But one thing that we don't realize is that if you start that way, especially when you're building a portfolio of properties or assets, if something happens to you here, and I'm sure Happy will know this because she's in the accounting field, it goes to something called the deceased estate. Have you heard of that? You're learning now. But let me tell you, this might sound very far-fetched, but I'll bring it closer to you to realize how important this is. Because like today I had a meeting with somebody. They started buying properties when they were 22. Anyone 22 here and above? Yeah? Everyone is 22 and above here. They started buying properties when they were 22. He's around 35 now. He's got 12 properties. He came to see me. And now he's struggling to change those properties from his own personal name. Because of a huge number of reasons. Because he bought them and he said, it's my property, and he wants it to be under his name. Because if anything happens to him, it first goes to the deceased estate. And just go to the next one. You'll see you have to pay estate duty, 20%, effective rate of 16.6%, capital gains tax, estate duty, I mentioned estate duty, transfer duty. Thank you very much. I think this is it. You have to pay a lot of taxes here to move this property to the people that you've left it for. So if I've left it for my son, a whole transfer has to take place. It's not just like you go to the deeds office and have it changed to this person. No. It's a complete transfer that has to take place. And when that happens, you've paid so many taxes, and this is the interesting part, because we had this a couple of months ago, that all those taxes, you have to pay them cash up front. So that's why today is Wednesday. I lost count of days. Is it Wednesday? Thursday. That's why on Friday, please buy the Sowetan or the Citizen. And you'll see how many deceased estates are being advertised. Why? Because people who've passed on can't pass their properties to their sons and daughters. Not that it's not there in their will, but because they didn't have the right structure, they started by putting it in their own name. Big mistake. Big mistake. I always say, if you want to build anything, make sure it's separate from you. You cannot build something that is part of you. You know, it might actually become too heavy. You can't even be able to carry it. But that's a big thing that we'll discuss today. And one of the things that we'll discuss also, I'll give you a chance just now, and one of the things that we'll also discuss is the issue of what is the right structure. Okay, yeah, I'll welcome some questions as we move along.
We say it's going to be a problem if everything is in my name. Now, if that one I transfer to his or her name, then also something happens to her or him.
But that's why you don't transfer to him or her, you transfer to an entity, and we'll talk about it. Yeah, you've jumped the gun. We'll get there. We'll get there. So I'll show you, I'll talk about this quickly, and I hope I have enough time. Let's look at, that is a state. The state is there. If you think about what the state is doing, I'm not saying that it's bad. By the way, this is what happens to most Western countries. There's always estate duty tax, there's capital gains tax. When I'm transferring the property, there is transfer duty, there's the conveyancing cost, there is the executor fees have to be paid, 3.5% plus VAT, 3.99%. All these fees have to be paid, and it's cash. If that cash is not available, then unfortunately you have to sell the property so that you can be able to transfer whatever else remains. That's what happens. But let's look at the private sector. Do you think private sector is pro-legacy, or does it want you to crack your future code? Does FNB, what's Mr. Steve, we call him Mr. Steve these days. Do you think FNB is willing or is helping you to crack your future code? No. Why? You want to? You want to keep it, eh? Let me ask you this question. How many of you have had a call from the bank offering you a credit card or a personal loan? Let me see your hands up. No, don't be shy. They've called you to... How many of you have called you or have had a call from the bank or from anyone giving you a loan to buy a property? Yeah, what happened? You got one. You got a call to buy a property. Oh, okay. No, I was. Why do you think that happens? They're willing to give you money which you are charged such a high interest rate, where the debt is is you're buying a depreciating asset, but no one is willing to give you money to buy an appreciating asset. Have you ever thought about it? They're willing to give you money to go and buy a car, but they're getting vehicle asset finance is very easy, huh? Especially the youngsters. You finish college, you go and buy, first thing is you get that BMW 330. They call it 3:30 these days, eh? And the banks are willing to give you that money before you even buy your own property to live in. Have you ever thought about it? It's because it's short-term loan and it's very high interest. They get to make a lot of money. The home loan is for 20, 30 years. You don't make that much. So the day you'll find the bank giving you what I call good debt, it's the day I think this world will be coming to an end. Eh? Because in most cases, no one is giving you home loans and investments, any form of loan to make any form of appreciating asset investment. Most of what you'll get is credit card, vehicle asset finance, personal loan. Hey, but the African bank, are they still alive? Huh? They're still alive. African bank. So because that is short-term loan, they make a lot of money. They make loads and loads of money. Okay. Knowledge. Let me tell you what, no one is going to give you this knowledge. And that's why I really appreciate the fact that you've come here and you're willing to listen, because this is something that you won't get anywhere else. Okay. Something else which is always business. This is something very, very important. I don't know how I can overstress this, because people always think that they go down the road and they buy a property that they're investing. There's a very clear difference between investing and trading. There's a very clear difference between investing and trading. And let's get this out of the way. When you're doing business, that's trading. I do business as well. I mean, that's where I get my daily bread. I don't go out there and, yes, my investments give me money, but there's a very clear difference between you're doing business and you're investing. And let's get this out of the way. If you buy property to renovate and put it back in the market, you're not really investing. You're trading. And you better know that trade very well, because then, number one, you want to make sure that you understand the mechanics and the operations of that business. You want to make sure that you know all the guys who do the handiwork, the plumbers, the electricians. And that is a business on its own, because you really have to put your attention and focus onto it. Investing, on the other hand, is where you buy a property or you buy an investment that is appreciating in value, but it's also giving you passive income. You don't have to go and work on it every single day. And you also have a very long-term outlook. I'm sure some of you, when you say here, you're thinking about this 35 or when you're 40, it looks like it's too far, but I'm telling you, it will happen like this. It will happen like this. Eh? Yeah. So let's get those two out of the way, where you're thinking of the investment is long-term thinking, giving you passive income. Business is day-to-day trading. Okay. You could also invest in business. When you go and put your money in stock market, you're investing in a business, which is a different story altogether. Okay. Okay, docs. And everyone knows this quadrant. Is there anyone who's familiar with this quadrant? I can see there's some two gentlemen there who are very, and lady there. This is a very important. I never saw this until when I think I was 30. Guys, you're so lucky because now information is everywhere. You can easily just Google this on your phones or whatever else and be able to pick out what this is. But this is if you understand this, you start working on the right side of the quadrant as much as you can. What does this mean? We have 4 quadrants. We have, and this is one of those things I want you to imprint in your mind, yeah? So it looks like that, yeah? So you have an employee. And most of us go to college to become employees. Remember, the schooling system is there to produce employees. I don't know that you know that. It's there to produce employees. And that's why, if you come for these kind of seminars, then you hear something different. Then you're like, how come I've never learned this in college? Because you'll never get to hear this. You never, I don't think there's any lecturer who will stand and tell you, I'm training you to become an employee. I was trained to become an employee. I'll tell you that for sure. Okay. Then you become an employee. Everyone tells you, go and become a lawyer, become a doctor, become an engineer and all that, which is good. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pursue your dreams. But then what happens is that you end up employing yourself. You end up being self-employed. I have to be honest, I only practiced for 2 years and it was not for me. I saw patients for 2 years and I decided, I put my hands up. Because then, how much time do I have in a day? I only have a fixed amount of time. And what can I do with that fixed amount of time? There's just so many patients you can see. And remember, you establish a one-to-one relationship with your clients. If they come and find you're not there, they take off. So what happens if I decide to take a vacation? I come and find my bank is dented because I've not had any income for that period of time. You understand? This is where most self-employed professionals fall. They just sit there, you tie yourself in knots, and you never grow out of that. It's very difficult to get out of that. And especially if your mindset is to become self-employed. This happens a lot to consultancies. You're a consultant, which is good, but then when you're seated there, it's really difficult for you to get out. And especially because the training and the mindset is, no. But then you start realizing there's another side of the quadrant, and that's the right side of the quadrant where you can own a business. And owning a business sounds easy, but if you don't set your mind to that, you're not going to own a business. Because owning a business means you employ people, you train them, you put systems in place, you've got a unique value proposition to the marketplace, and the marketplace likes it, so they can come and send money to you, and you can provide that value of whatever you're providing. Are we together? But then there's another area where we talk about investors. An investment is where now you put money somewhere, you back off, and it keeps producing more money and giving you passive income. These two are related because I could invest in your business and leave you, and I keep getting money from you because you are running the business yourself, but I'm an investor, I'm a shareholder in your business. So at the end of the year, I'll come and look at the financials and say, oh, okay, you made 100,000, I own 50%, where is my dues? And you declare a dividend and you give me my money. And I'm happy, I invested. Okay, so that's a very important quadrant that you have to understand. And when you come for this kind of seminars, I can tell you what, we plant a seed in you. We are not saying that we are going to give you everything, but that seed that we plant is going to make a very big difference once you understand how this works. Okay. I don't want to get into the details of this because this can get us going we can talk about this the whole day. It's a long process, but I just want you to know this. But now, cracking the code, and what I'm going to focus on in the next 10, 15 minutes is our legacy solution is very simple. We reckon that, I've jumped the slide there, we reckon that a well-structured real estate portfolio is possibly one of the safest, simplest, and easiest way of cracking this future code that Mr. Selikan has been talking to you about. It's, if you think about it, it's so easy and so simple. It's not as difficult as starting a business. I always say, a property is easy. It's easy peasy, Once you get your mindset into it, it becomes very easy. Let me give you one example. Who wants to buy a property tomorrow? Okay, let's start with Wendy here. She wants to buy a property tomorrow. Wendy, you've seen a property which is $500,000, and you can sell it for 700. Do you have the money? No. See. So who else wanted to buy the property? You also wanted to buy the property, yeah? Okay. So what do you do if you don't have the money? Is there anyone who knows what they can do? Yeah? Sorry? A loan. But you can't get a loan, you only have an ID. Do you have an income? Do you have a payslip? Exactly. Sorry? You find an investor. That's a good suggestion. That's a good suggestion. You find an investor. Someone else with a different view? Anyone with a different view? And those are the ways I'm asking about now. Those are the ways I'm asking about now. So we've already asked that question. We just need some more answers. Yeah, at the back there. Talk to the buyer. No, you are the buyer. Talk to the seller. Yeah. That's called seller finance. Very clever. But what if the seller wants their lump sum, like yesterday? You know, most sellers in South Africa want their money when they sell. They don't want to wait until... Yes, but how easy is it to get a business partner? Okay, let me cut the long story short. Anyone here who's ever heard of a parallel transfer? Exactly. See, it's just information. It's just information. It's something called a parallel transfer. It is within the legal limits of South Africans' property transfer. I can buy a property from Wendy for 500. I sell it to my brother. Your name again? PC. I sell it to PC the same day, not tomorrow, the same day. Literally, you sign here, okay, and then I take it to him. Of course, he's not seeing the two of us because then you're not making any profit. Eh? I can take it to him and make him sign his own offer the same single day, as long as I know that he is going to get the bond. I mean, can't you do that? You've got an ID. Now the gentleman, you got an ID. You have an ID book. Yeah, as long as you've got an ID book, you can do that. Did you know you can do that? Then I'm giving you information. You can buy a property today for 500,000. You sell it to him for 600,000, same day. He goes and applies for a bond. When that property is being transferred, it will come to me. It will first come from you to me and from me to you during the day of transfer. Because you got the bond. I didn't have to get a bond. I didn't have to go and look for an investor. And I put my 100,000 at the back here. How difficult is that? Yes, my brother. Yes?
So basically, say you the intermediate between the transfer.
Exactly.
So, what if he doesn't pay up?
Who doesn't pay up?
The second party, because like there's two people who are interacting in a transaction that they don't know.
I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you this for sure. In every offer to purchase that you sign, always make sure you have this clause that this offer is subject to the purchaser getting finance of their own liking. So if it falls through, I'll just go back to the seller and tell them, look, the deal didn't come, it fell through. I couldn't get the financing that I was looking for. But I can tell you what, you'll find a lot of properties in the market. It's possibly the intermediary who's selling it, it's not the seller. It's not even the agent. Remember, we are not even talking about having an agency. You are not a registered estate agency. You are a buyer. You buy and sell. You don't need a license to do that. Okay, I think I'm taking you a bit too fast now. Now, second thing is, we said don't put properties under your own name. Big mistake. If you do that, there are two things. Number one, there's a chance that you're going to hit the ceiling, especially when you're looking for finance. Because guess what? There's something called the National Credit Act. Have you heard of the National Credit Act? What does the National Credit Act say? You've heard of the National Credit Act. It says something very interesting. It says this. It says that the lender can only give you 30% They call it debt to income ratio or repayment to income ratio. So if you're earning, let's say, I'll just take, for example, if the gross in that family is 30,000, what's 30% of 30,000? Happy you're the maths person. 9,000. Your statutory debt on a monthly basis cannot exceed 9,000. That's what the NCA says. So whom does the NCA apply to? It applies to natural persons, me and you. The minute you have your properties in an entity, falls away. I don't know whether I'm making sense. What I'm talking about is, if you have your properties in an entity, you can keep borrowing using your income and putting the properties in this entity. Which means your income will never get exhausted. But if you buy those properties under your own personal name, next time you approach the bank to go and buy a second property, they'll be like, no. And NCA tells us you cannot get a second property because you are exceeding your debt to income ratio. And you're cut off completely. Now that's why you find people just with one property or two properties and they say they're investors. There's no way you can be property investors with two properties. And by the way, don't forget, it's not the property that you live in. The property you live in is not an investment. It's not. I mean, come on. Is it an investment? No, it takes away money from my pocket. I don't like it. It's like my food. The food I just ate, it's an investment. It keeps me alive. Remember, humanity has three basic needs: food, clothing, and shelter. So you have to live somewhere. So the place that you're living currently, you can't call it an investment because it's roof over your head. It's a clothes you're wearing. It's the food that you're eating. So whenever I refer to an investment property in this sitting, just know it's your second, third, 10th property that is giving you an income. Okay? Are we clear on that? Eh? So that we don't get confused, because there's some things I'll say here and someone go and quotes me and says that say that we shouldn't do this. For your house that you live in, you have to do certain things, and I'll come to that later. Okay. Let's move on. I think we've spent too much time there. Assets that you put in that you build a legacy with. You said one of the ways and the easiest way of building a legacy is basically having an entity where you're going to be putting property investments. Okay. Trusts are possibly one of the best entities for you to set up. A trust is not a company. A trust is a contract. It's a contractual agreement that you get into, and it's lodged with the Master of the High Court. It doesn't go through the CIPC and the Registrar of Companies. You basically take it to the Master of the High Court, it's registered, and you get, but the running of a trust is very much like running of a company, okay? I won't go through, there are a lot of benefits of having a trust, but to go back to the question that was asked here, if you got your assets under a trust, and something happens to me, the only thing is, nothing is frozen. The only thing that is changed is the trustees who run that trust, period. There's no estate duty, because a trust does not pass on. These entities are immortal. They live for as long as somebody is managing them. The other day I heard that Old Mutual is what, 175 years. One of the oldest trusts, and this is interesting, one of the oldest trusts which is registered in England, it's more than 1,000 years old. Because actually trusts originated from common English law, 1,000 years old. Can you imagine how much in terms of assets this trust has accumulated over 1,000 years? Must be crazy, okay? But I won't get into, there are a lot of benefits that you can derive from a trust, but don't worry about that now. Right now, possibly what you need to think about is, how can I do it in my own name, or how can I do it in a company? Quickly. If you set up a company tomorrow, I can show you how to buy a property and sell it before Christmas. Okay. So what I'm talking about here is something called separation of assets from you as an individual. You have to really work on this, because a lot of people make the mistake of having everything under their own name. I always say I don't own anything. I actually don't even own the clothes that I'm wearing. You need to be in a position where you own nothing, but you control everything. You don't, because creditors will come for you. The minute you start having a few assets here and there are people who just seem to know when somebody is getting money from all directions and they come for them. One of the things you need to do is completely separate your assets from you as a person. And I can't overstress that. I always see people making that mistake, and especially when you're young. When you're young, you don't take this advice very well because you feel, I know these things. Then all of a sudden, in your 30s, you realize, geez, I made mistakes. Then it's costly. It's costly because moving an asset from your own name to an entity is a complete transfer, and you pay through your nose. Okay. I just want to quickly touch on, we all know about this, don't we? Education. And this is the real education. I've learned more outside the normal formal education than I ever learned in my life. I have to be honest. Listening to audios. Do you guys listen to audio? Jeez. Do you guys read? I don't know. Are you guys reading books? Huh? Let me tell you, and let me just digress a bit here. Reading books, and I'm not talking about fiction and Daniel Steele and all that. I mean, yeah, you can do that once in a while. I'm talking about reading good books, and not newspapers. Geez, the last time I read a newspaper was possibly like three years ago. I always say, if something is so important in terms of news, you will get to hear about it, Yeah, I mean, I heard about Nkandla, so... yeah, but, people tell me, you tell me I not read news. Yeah, don't read news. Why? Think about it. Let me ask our gentleman here. I'm sure you could be old enough to be my uncle. But... yeah. Oh, yeah. My dad. 10 years. Oh, wonderful. You've aged very well. But I want to ask you something. News that happened 10 years ago. Do you even remember them? It was something that was on top. This person had done this and that. But if you think about it, not even 10 years ago. Bring it back 2 months ago. Can you remember the news that you read 2 months ago? Can you? Can you remember news that happened on the 18th of August this year? But on that day, you really needed to get that newspaper and read it. It's interesting because when I realized that, someone told me, just leave the news alone. Why? Because if something is so important, you'll get to hear about it anyway. But reading something useful. Has anyone read Billy Serikani's book, From Barefoot to Crocodiles? Has anyone read that book? By show of hands. That's what I'm talking about. Guys, I'm telling you, I could take that book and read over and over again. If you read that book over and over again for at least 3 months, it has more information that possibly you'll get in formal teaching. Has anyone read a book by the name of Think and Grow Rich? Has anyone read that book? Written by Napoleon Hill in 1934, 1938. It's a small book. How much is it? 100 rand is a lot. The last time I bought it for 5 rand, 10 years ago. Yeah, in a second-hand place. I went and found it. I collect them because if someone comes and asks me, what do I need to do? Here, read this. Honestly, it's such, the thing is, this is something very important, is the things that are easy to do, and those who are writing notes, please write this. Things that are easy to do are also things that are easy not to do. Yeah? Reading that book is easy to do. You can do it like this. It's one of those bedside reads that you take and before you even start nodding, it's over. But it's so easy, but it's also easy not to do. Remember that. Things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. Remember that. Okay. Guys, I think I'm moving a bit far. I wish I could talk about that because that's an area that I'm very passionate about. Self-development. You cannot escape that. I don't understand how you're young. Today someone asked me, I was just talking to someone, someone was asking me, so when did you start working? I told him, do you know, the period of time between when I finished matric and the time when I got my first job, do you know how much time that was? And by the way, I'm not even talking about going for masters or anything. From the time I finished matric to the time when I got my first job, it was a cool 10 years. And I'm not kidding. A cool 10 years. Why? Okay, I went for a course that was long, to 6 years. I had to do internship for 2 years. We went on strike for 1 year. Fees must fall. So there were all those things. But the point I'm raising this is this. For you to become a doctor, you really have to put in a lot of effort. There's no question about that. For you to become an accountant, for you to become any professional, you really have to put the effort. Okay. How many people here would like to be financially free? Let's see by a show of hands. Financially free. Okay. And what makes you think that you can read Sowetan every day and make it and become financially free? You can't. You really have to look for the right books, the right information. You have to go to the right seminars. You have to do all the right things. And I'm serious because it's not a walk in the park that, unless you could become a entrepreneur. That's easy. But I can promise you, if you really want to make it, you have to put in the effort. And the information has to get in here, and then you have to work on it. Seriously. Okay, let's talk about property. I'll do this and I'm finished. Okay. How much time do I have?
No, I'm still enjoying it.
Okay. 3. I'll take you through this. This I'm talking about this because they are myths. And it's interesting because the same way a lot of people don't understand how to become financially successful, it's the same way the things I'm going to talk about property here, you'll be like, oh, I don't believe what this guy says. But I can tell you this is what I live every day. And here's my first question. Investment property. How soon should you pay off, how should you pay off your bond on your investment property? How soon should you pay it off? Let's see, by show of hands. Huh? Immediately. Give me an answer, thumbs up. You don't have to be right. 5 years? 10 years? No, not you. Yeah? 20 years? 10 years? Sorry? 40 years? Wow, 40 years. 40 years paying off a property. Sorry? Wow, that's a long period of time. That's a long period of time. Anyone else with a different opinion? 30 years. 30 days. You want to pay it off, completely. Okay. Let me ask you. Can I ask you a very simple question? Where did you learn that? No. It's I'm being honest. Where did you learn that? The answers you've given me. Where did you learn that? Where did you learn? You said 30 days. Yeah? Immediately. Where did you learn that? It's just a hunch. What if you came to see me and you asked me, Doc, where are your qualifications? This medicine I learned is just by hunch. Would you want me to treat you? Or your operating table. You've come to see me and I'm the surgeon. And then you look up and say, oh, Doc, where did you learn how to do your operation? It's just a hunch. I learned it. I just felt it come inside and I started operating immediately. Would you want me to continue that operation? So where did you learn about 5, 10, 14? Okay. Let me ask you another question. After what appreciation should you sell your property? You bought a property for R500,000 or 300,000. When should you sell it? At what appreciation? Will you sell it at 600, 900? When it's 5 times, that means it's 2.5 million. When will you sell it? At what appreciation? Yeah? When do you get to sell it? An investment property. Remember here we're talking about investment properties. Sorry? 5 times, Sorry? 9 times. Jeez, that's ambitious, sorry, ma'am. Ma'am, in a cap? At what? At what appreciation? 5 times. So you bought it for 500,000, at 2.5 million you sell and exit the market. Okay? No, it's a good, yes, my brother. Sorry? So it doubles, you sell. You're out. You're out of the game. Okay. Listen to this other question. I've given you 1 million rands, cash. Boom, Wendy, you wake up tomorrow, you find 1 million rands cash in your bank account. But then I also tell you, down there in Benoni, I've got some nice investment properties. Each is going for 500,000. How many would you buy? 2. 1. 3. Yeah. The good answer here. 3. Anyone else? 2. Is no one who's buying more than 2? Ma'am? How many? 4. 3. See. Ah, my. Mama. Holy moly. Okay, let's go through this now. Never planned to pay off my bond. 40 years was good. 40 years was good. 50 years, I want to extend my bonds at least 60 years. 60 years is good. I want to leave them. You know what? I want to leave at least a couple of billion rands to my kids to take over my bonds. Seriously. And I'll show you why. My brother there was talking about OPM, other people's money. Never. My feeling is that the minute your bond is like a few months, extend it for another 30 years. Get the longest bond you can, 30 years. 30! You can't get more than 30. The other day I went and asked for 40 from the bank and they told me, we can't give you 40 years. Come on. You're too greedy. 40 years, we can't give it to you. Sorry? We'll talk about this because I'm telling you, the things I'm teaching you here, you'll never get to hear them anywhere else. And I'll show you the logic behind this. I'm not just saying this I'll show you the logic just now, if you stay with me. Anyone who's asleep? Okay. Never, ever sell an investment property. How do you sell the cow that is giving you most milk? How do you take the golden goose and have it for bride? Does it make sense? It won't give you more golden eggs. It won't. In Africa, we don't sell the cow that is giving us the most milk. You keep it and milk it. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but here's the other thing. South Africa has one of the most advanced financial systems. You don't need to sell a property to realize the capital appreciation. So I can actually get the capital appreciation in my property without letting go. So if a property has moved from 500,000 to 2.5 million, so I've got 2 million rands in capital appreciation. That's how much I would get if I sold it. But you can get that 2 million without selling the asset. This asset is growing very well. Why do you want to sell it? Yes. Guys, if you sell that asset, then you come and find it's 10 million, you'll be devastated. I've seen clients who come to me and they tell me, let's look at that property. I sold it 10 years ago. Then property has moved from 600, now it's 1.8. So you're like, oh man, now what do I sell it, man? But the point is, you can actually pull out that capital appreciation without necessarily getting rid of the asset. Okay. If the bank can give me 100 properties, I'd buy it with that 1 million. The difference between the one who buys 2 properties and the one who buys 50 properties, why do you want to buy 2? There's someone who said 1, and then do what with the other 500,000? Go to Bermuda or go to Mauritius. Go shopping, eh? Why do you want to buy 1 or 2? I think the person who had the most was 4 with R1 million. In the current situation, promise you can get at least 30 to 40 units. And now 5, 10 years down the line, the difference will be like hell and heaven, eh? Yeah. The person who has the biggest chunk of assets, if I bought 20 properties, Or let's say I bought 50 properties, each worth $500,000. What's that? 25 million rands. And you bought 2, each worth $500,000. So you've got a 1 million rand portfolio. I've got a 25 million rand portfolio. If that year we both grow by 10%, I grow by 10%. So if you grow 10%, you get to 100,000. Your portfolio is 1 million. Mine is 25 million. It grows by 10%. I get what? 2.5 million. Is there a difference between 2.5 million and 100,000? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let me just take you this quickly. The myth of paying off your bond. Guys, let me tell you something. I tried explaining this to my wife a while ago. But it's very difficult, but think about it when you go back home, because what I'm saying here might not make sense. But look at this. I'm just going to show you in a graphical format. It might make sense. Try and follow me, because I don't want to repeat twice. So I was staying somewhere in Jamestown many years ago, around 10 years ago. And my wife went for a walk around the block. And she met this old Afrikaans man who was seated there. And, you know, the old people love talking. So he said hi. They started chatting. And in the middle of the conversation, the man says, oh, you know, I can't wait before the end of the year. I'm going to finish paying my bond. My wife was taken aback. This old man is still paying his bond. Okay, this is the property he was living in, but I wanted to use that property as an example for an investment property. Okay, try and follow me in this. So the guy said, yes, I have at least a few months remaining because I extended my bond to 30 years. So we're here. Can you all see from the back? I think it was around 2006. Yeah, it was around 10 years ago. So he had bought this property 30 years earlier, and he just had a few months to pay off his bond. Okay, so 30 years earlier was 1976. Are we together? The properties in that area at that point in time were around 1 million rands. So here's the question. How much do you think he bought that property for? Because as the conversation continued, my wife was like, so, just out of interest, one, how much did you buy the property for? How much do you think the properties were worth? 20? 20? Any other guesses out there? Most of you are not born then, okay, yeah? 25,000. You're almost there. But to give you an example, that property was 17,000 rands in 1976. I want you to follow this very closely, because once you understand this, you realize why it's important for an investment property to have a long-term bond, as long as you can stretch it. Okay, let's go back here. So my wife was like, 17,000. So the next question she asked was, can you please tell me how much are you paying today? The few months that are remaining, how much are you paying on a monthly basis? Now she's almost whispering because she doesn't want to be heard like she's asking too much. How much do you think this gentleman was paying on a monthly basis here? He had like 4 or 5 months to go. How much? 2,000 bucks, Wendy? Sorry? 1.5, 1,500? 1.3? 1,000? 850? Who said 50 rand? Thank you very much. He was paying 117 rand per month. I want to show you something that people don't know about bonds. You know, the only thing we know about bonds and mortgages is seeing people being kicked out of their houses because they've not paid. That's what we have in our mindset. It's not so. That's why we fear them. We are so afraid. You don't want to take the bond. I want to pay it immediately. But let me show you this, because the minute you understand this, you want to become bond wise. You want to understand how this thing called bond works. Okay, but here's what happens. So in essence, the property was bought for 17,000, but it has grown to 1 million. A bond is only affected by 2 things and 2 things only. 2 things. Just 2. If you understand that, then the bond becomes it's not complicated at all. It's only affected by 2 things. One, the duration, how long it is. That's why if you get a bond for your car, 60 months, it's so high. Vehicle asset finance is always very high because you're paying it over 5 years. These days, I understand you can get it for 72 months, but it doesn't matter. I don't want a car bond. I don't want vehicle asset finance. But the duration of the bond is one. The second thing is the interest rate. Those are the only two things that affect a bond. If you understand that, then you realize this. Over 30 years, this gentleman has been paying the same amount of money. It's been moving up and down because the changes in interest rate change the repayment. But over 30 years, it's been the same amount. So what that means is, if the interest here was, let's say, 11%, and I don't know what the interest rate was in 1976, but let's say it was also 11% or something thereabout. The amount he was paying there was still 117 rand. It hasn't changed. The only thing that changes it is the interest rate if your duration is 30 years. If your duration is 20 years, the same thing. You listen to the Reserve Bank and the Monetary Policy Committee. Have they changed the interest rate? Then that is going to affect your bond repayments on a monthly basis. Are we together? Okay. But here, this is what happens. If this was an investment property, we always use something called 1% RVR, 1% rental to value ratio, to give you an approximation of how much rental you'd get for that property. So 1% of that is 170 bucks per month. That would be the approximate rental. The rental here would be 1%, 10,000 rands. Because there's no way, and please go and check out there, a property can be 1 million in value and you're renting it for 1,000 rands. Is that possible? That's possible because the rental is a consumable, just like bread and milk and one of those things that you eat and drink every day. So what I'm saying is that in 1976, he could have been renting that property for 170. Let's round this to 120. He gets 50 rand in his pocket. He pays off maybe his rates and taxes, and eventually he's left with maybe 30 rand. And 30 rand was a lot of money. The other day, a friend of mine from sent me a ticket of SAA, fly SAA from Joburg to Cape Town and back, 2 nights in Cape Town in a 3-star hotel. Friday, come back on Sunday. How much do you think it was in 1975? For two. A ticket for 2, Joburg to Cape Town, spend 2 nights in Cape Town, and you're back. To 75 rand. No, 75 rand. That's how much it was in 1975. So I just want you to see this picture and see it very clearly. Yeah? So in essence, the value, the rental will always tag along the value of the property. But in terms of the repayments, the value of the repayments, because what is 117 rand in 2006? How much can you buy with 117 rand in Pick and Pay? Very little. You agree, yeah? So it's very important for you to look at this, to see this picture. Basically, the value of the property appreciates. And the rental follows that. Because the rental will always follow the value of the property. It will. That's why I was saying, there's no way you can have a property that's 1 million and you're renting it for 500 bucks a month. That's not possible. I mean, that would be utopia. Eh? But the bond repayments, they stay stagnant. And that is so important. If today you get a bond and it's 4,000 rand a month, just know that 30 years from now, if the interest is still at 10.5%, it still be the same repayment. But the value of those repayments, because of something called inflation, the value of those repayments, boom, they hit the floor. So you want to stretch your bond on an investment property as long as you can. You know, it's interesting. Even like a 10-year difference is such a massive difference in terms of inflation. I look at properties that I bought 10 years ago, I can't believe it. Bought it for 400,000, now it's 1.5 million or 1.8 million. The repayment, it's 3,500. What's the rental now? It's 12, 13, 14,000. What has happened? My bond will stay the same for the next 20 years because I stretched my bond for 30 years. Does this make sense? So properties, investment properties, when it comes to bond, understand this. Because if you get this and you understand it very carefully, then it becomes much easier for you to say, I'm going to get those 20 or 30 properties and buy them using a bond. If you buy with cash, you're not going to have a huge portfolio, because where will you be able to get 500,000 every day to build your property portfolio? It's very difficult to do that, okay? Okay, dogs, don't sell your property. Don't sell that cow that gives you milk, okay? Appreciation will always be there. It will double, it will triple, it will continue growing. As long as there's inflation, keep your property. And as long as it's in a good area. Of course, if the area turns to be Yeovil or Hillbrow, then you need to be out, okay? So appreciation can go 50 appreciation, what will it be? It could be anything, okay? Myth number 3, how much leverage? Buy as much as the bank can afford you. And this is the picture I wanted to show you. If somebody bought 2 properties, the other one bought 5 properties, look at what happens. The one with 2 properties only has a value, the value of the investment is only 1 million. But the one who bought 50 is 25 million. Would you rather have a portfolio of 1 million or 25 million? Remember, it's your full portfolio that is growing. It's not the money that you put down. You put very little, but the full portfolio is growing. And that is the trick behind property, okay? I don't even want to go to cash on cash return, but look at this. If you compounded the value of that property over 5 years at a growth of 7.5%, one person will be having a portfolio of 1.4, the other will be having a portfolio of almost close to 35 million. That's 35 times more. I don't know whether that makes sense. This is over 5 years. Can you imagine what would happen over 10, 20 years, 30 years? It's crazy. One person would be having a portfolio of 500 million, the other would still be struggling with 3-5 million. Okay. Okay, docs, I don't want to spend too much time and bore you a lot, but I just want to end it there. And before I let you guys, I want you to stand up again. Just stand up so that I can wind it up quickly. Has anyone never been to the sea here? Never. To the sea? Durban, Cape Town? Okay, I would assume the others are. But you've been to a swimming pool. Have you dipped yourself somewhere in water? You've been to the sea, okay. How uncomfortable would it be if water gets you up to the chest level if you don't know how to swim? Very uncomfortable. What if it gets you up to like your eye level? So let me give you a story while you're standing, because I believe this story is best told when you're standing. So this man goes to a very successful old gentleman and says, can you please teach me the lessons on how to become successful? And he's told, come to the sea the following day to the beach. And they go out to the beach. And the old man is seated there and tells him, I want you to walk into the sea. Just imagine yourself walking into the sea. And water goes to knee level. He's like, just keep going. And it goes up to the chest. He's told, Chief, just keep going. And it goes all the way up to the face, and now it's almost covering the nose. And you know, breathing is a major issue for us. We are not fish. Unfortunately, we are all humans. So he's like, I can't pass. This is the end of me. If I go beyond this, I'm going to drown. He's told, Chief, I told you to keep going so that I can show you the secret to success. Can you imagine yourself going? And you're past now that level. He's still, no, I can't. So this old man comes. I'll pretend the one who's walking to the sea, and I'm the old man. Okay. So he comes and holds the young man, or the young lady, and dips the head into the water, and holds it there for a couple of seconds. And this guy, and then he releases the young man, and he comes out gasping like he's almost out of breath. What are you trying to do to me? Are you trying to kill me? And then he was asked, when I dipped your head into the water, how did you feel? What was going through your mind? Can you imagine that? What was going through your mind? You just want to survive. You just want to make it and survive. And he told him, if you want success as bad as you wanted that breath when you're under the water, you'll definitely make it. Thank you very much. You can have a seat now.
Yes. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. My heartbeat has changed. I am so happy. And I know we are all so happy. Guys, it has been, I don't know what to start. Words have left me because of the honor that we have received today. My story has changed. I don't know about yours. I dare you to dream big. Now I'm looking at the property, I'm thinking, why we always don't want to listen to this subject? You know, things with the numbers. It's like we are programmed that we don't want to listen. Today it's a different day. Now I'm going to buy properties, and we don't sell. And now we are cracking the future code. Now I know I'm going to look at my investment portfolio, and I know in 20 years' time, it will be worth something. It is unthinkable that is happening to us today. And let's keep it that way. Invite your friends tomorrow. We're still here. We're still going to learn. My story has changed. I don't know about yours. Doc, what an honor. You've changed my life, and you've changed all of us. I know you have to rush home to your next meeting. Guys, as he walks out, if you need to take a selfie with him, if you need his number, he will give it to you today. I'll get your number from Billy, definitely. Yes, thank you so much. Another round of applause, guys. You are also leaving. Guys, please, I give you 2 seconds. You follow them. Please, get their numbers. You are also leaving. Guys, please, I give you 2 seconds. You follow them. Please, get their numbers.